everyone, this is Candace. Welcome back to day 45 of my 100-day health challenge. So today I'm doing a little bit of an earlier check-in. It's really not actually early, it's just I'm kind of going back to my original time so that I'm not, up super late, hopefully. I'm just getting back on schedule, getting back on track with things. And so I'm about to sit down for dinner and where I'm having some different leftovers, some chicken and shrimp and some rice and veggies and just kind of a simple thrown together little meal. And I am having a little bit of rice, so it'll be a little bit more carb heavy tonight, but I feel like it'll still be okay. It's kind of like a fried rice sort of version thing with some eggs and like green onions and that kind of thing. So I think it'll be really good and something simple. And then I have some unsweet iced tea for my drink. And I do have a little bit of delay on my supplements. That's what I was thinking. I was trying to think of the word. I had an appointment today, so I got some new supplements. Well, they're the same ones that are kind of helping in addition. So the ones I take on a regular basis, I get those on my own from doTERRA, and then these ones are from the doctor, my more natural homeopathic doctor. And so these are, again, I'm still getting back on track for sleeping, so I'm taking like a magnesium one and another one that I'm blanking on the name right now, and but they're kind of supplements to help support that. And so I will be, so I got some new of those today, and so I'm a little bit off on schedule because I didn't take them. Well, I ate a little bit of a late breakfast again. Really, it was kind of like a brunch because I hadn't really had breakfast. I didn't feel like eating it this morning. Probably should have still, but I didn't. So I ended up taking my supplements later too. So I'm kind of trying to like make sure that does not become a new habit. I'm pretty good usually about taking my supplements, but in this case, I've still taken them. They've just been a little bit later than planned, which they're still effective. It's just I like to take them first thing in the morning when I get up and eat breakfast. And plus, there's usually ones I take with lunch and breakfast. So, it's all right, but it's one of those things that I'm like, okay, I will fix it the next time. I don't want to keep repeating this, but I also don't want to guilt myself for the next one. I want to just look at it as a fresh start for the next round. But anyway, so I'm doing kind of a quick or a earlier check-in, I should say. It's not really necessarily going to be quick, but it's an earlier check-in. So 5 days away from day 50. And part of me is super excited. Most of me is super excited because I have literally almost been doing this consistently for 50 days. And that is essentially over 3 months, almost 4 months, if you look at it, I guess. Actually, no, is that right? No, I'm an idiot. That's not right. I was thinking weeks, and I'm like, that is not right. That is not right at all. Ignore that. It's like the teacher, right? It's been a long day. Woo, it's been a long week. So let me correct that. Almost 2 months. Oh my gosh. I need to go back to bed. So almost 2 months I've been doing this. And I know that sounds ridiculous in a way. Some of you may resonate with this, but it's like, it's not that I haven't tried. It's just I feel like in the past, every time I've been doing this sort of thing, something's come up. Like I've been sick and, I was sick for like 6 weeks in the summer, right when I was getting into the swing of things, had been moving from my apartment back into another place and was unpacking and sorting things. And so now I'm still unpacking and sorting things because I was sick in the summer. And that also threw me off for school. And so it's just like, I feel like in the past, every time I've started to do this, started to maintain healthy habits and get into things that there's been lots of blocks and plateaus and that I haven't been able to get past. And so, and there's a lot of reasons for that. And I know I've shared some, but it's just, there's so much to it because weight loss is not the only part of the story. Health is literally life. If you think about what health actually is, health is living the way we were created to live. Health is the ideal situation our body should be in, the homeostasis, the balance of all things in our life that we were designed to have. We were designed to have good health. We were designed to prosper and to thrive. Yes, we have all kinds of things that make that difficult and for a variety of reasons. And no matter what you believe, the ultimate truth is that we were not meant to live in poor health, but we oftentimes do for whatever reason or another. That's just the truth. No matter what you believe, that's the truth. And I believe we were created to live in a healthy body, to live a healthy life, to be sharing our like love and hope with the world. I believe that we were created to do these things, and that those are able to be done when we have good health. And so health is life. It's not just, oh, I want to be more healthy, and we mean, okay, I want to just stop, eating chocolate. Yeah, that's good. Or maybe it's, well, actually that's bad because I love chocolate. So I love dark chocolate. So, okay, yeah, white chocolate. Yeah, stop eating white chocolate. I feel like it's pointless unless you have, okay, that's besides the topic, but, but no, really though, getting healthy, we sometimes think, oh, it's just making healthy choices. And we think simple things, which is true. But sometimes we miss the whole point that health is about life. It's about thriving. It's about not just surviving, but thriving. It's about living well, being able to do the things we were meant to do because we have the energy and the strength and the joy and the focus to be able to do them. It's so many things. Health is literally to live the life we were meant to live. And yes, there's always going to be obstacles to that because we just don't live in a perfect world. But we can do what we can to get there. And yes, there's obstacles sometimes we don't have choices over. But in that case, health is more than just physical health. It's mental and emotional. We have the ability to choose how we respond to situations. And so that's healthy choices. That's a healthy life. Healthy is all the realms of health. And I know different people have different ways of splitting up the realms of health, different things they call them. But ultimately, everything in our life is meant to have health and meant to have vitality in that life. And so when I say 100 and beyond, I'm talking about living to 100 and beyond, but that those years are full of 100% vitality and thriving and purpose and living with purpose and sharing our love and joy and hope with the world. And so I feel like that's what it's all about. Health is literally the way we live. And so the challenge, so going back to what I was thinking about here and what I've been reflecting on, is literally weight loss is only a small piece of the puzzle. And so for me, I've had a lot of emotional and mental trauma tied to health. Well, I shouldn't even say that. It's not tied to health, but my way of living has been a result of trauma in my story. Whether that's physical trauma, mental or emotional trauma, spiritual trauma, whatever it may be for you too, the realms are not separate. And when I say realms, I'm not talking like, Middle Earth, like different realms, or I'm not talking, I'm not talking about like fantastical realms. I'm talking about realms or areas, whatever you want to call it, of health, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, social, financial, job health, environmental health. All these realms of health are all tied. They are never separate. They may be separate things within our life that we can kind of identify in different categories, but most things are going to cross over to different realms. Like something that's tied to physical health could also be mental and emotional. Something for mental and emotional health could be actually also physical health. Spiritual health can be within there. It can be all those things. Mental and emotional and spiritual health can be tied. Your job health can be tied to your physical health. There can be things you do, things you improve that improve multiple realms of health. So none of these things are separate. So I think sometimes we have to ask ourselves, what is health? What is it to be healthy? What is it that looks like? And every person has a different thing that like they were meant to do. There's different talents and gifts and abilities we have. And yes, we're able to learn things too, but there are things that we're born with that we are just blessed with. And I don't believe there's a single person in the earth that is not blessed with something special, that I don't believe there's a single person on earth who is not unique and created for great things. I really, truly don't believe there's a single person who in the history of the world or to come has ever been created without a purpose or without the ability to live with purpose and to change the world. And yes, our stories, well, and I think that scares evil more than anything. I think that the ability that we've been blessed with, that God's blessed us with, when we are living out what God put us on this earth to do, And when we are in alignment with His will on earth, I think that there's nothing more scary for evil than that, because we can change lives, we can bless people, we can love people, give people hope. And so when you are taking care of yourself in any realm of health that is out of whack, that is out of homeostasis, then you are literally, it's almost an act of worship. You are honoring the body and the blessing that you've been given. And so health, and this is something that I've been having to deal with, to look at too, and it's not meant to guilt us, but I think there is this part of us that needs to realize that sometimes there have been things that we have not done well, we've not chosen to do well. And yes, there are things that are totally out of our control, but how we respond to those is also a choice. And so sometimes I think it's good to confront ourselves and be realistically honest and say, I've screwed up. There are times where I have screwed up. Now, that does not mean we guilt ourselves, because we love to guilt ourselves. We love to tell ourselves that we are awful and that all these things we've done, and that we like to shame ourselves. And for whatever reason, we kind of are like gluttons for punishment sometimes to ourselves. Like, we would be the least critical people of others for the most part, but when it comes to ourselves, it's like I can't praise myself. I can't be, just like there's this disconnect when it comes to ourselves, which is sad. But I think literally it's an act of worship when we realize it is a honoring the blessing of our bodies, what we've been given, and the potential we have, because we've all been born with promise and potential, and to do great things for whatever amount of time on this earth we have. I truly believe that. And so I think that health can be such a beautiful concept, because health is not just a bunch of, I've got to eat all vegetables, or it's not I can't eat any sweets, or desserts, it's not, I have to exercise nonstop 12 hours a day. It's not, I have to put myself to the very limit of my abilities because that's healthy somehow. It's not about that. It's this beautiful picture of health is simply returning to the state that we were designed to be in. That's it. Health is literally honoring God and others with who we are, what we are able to do through His blessing. And so I think honestly, no matter what you believe, that there is a reality in that is truth, that you are most healthy when you are living what you were created to be. And so, I guess what I've been thinking about lately then is looking at like changing the way, and this is actually where this whole entire challenge came from. It's literally changing the way I look at health and what my health means. Because I've spent years choosing not to be healthy and also not having a choice. And sometimes the choice was as a defense, because there were things that scared me to death, and have in the past scared me to death about being healthy. And some of you may think, well, that sounds stupid, but the reality is fear is incredibly powerful. It is incredibly powerful, and it can keep us down from doing what we were meant to do and what we're able to do. And fear for me, I have been scared to death of losing the defense I have of being unhealthy. And it's been a defense mechanism that's kept me safe, or it's made me feel like I've been safe and protected, when in reality what I'm doing is I'm putting myself in a cage and keeping myself locked in there. And so I think it's taken a long time. This has been preloaded with years of processing through my story, my trauma, what I've gone through, and looking at that and saying, enough is enough. I have suffered enough because of these things that either I had no choice over, or the way I responded that really I might not have ever responded that way if these things hadn't happened. And so enough is enough. Enough is enough. We are not meant to live this way. We are meant to be healthy, to live how we were created to do the things we were created to do. And for me, it's this beautiful image of coming back together, the broken pieces being put back together stronger than ever, in a more beautiful picture than ever. If If you know about, I think I've mentioned it before, but the Japanese art of kintsugi, I believe I'm saying that right. Absolutely beautiful. We are born beautiful and precious, designed and created specially, uniquely. I look at my little nephew and his beautiful smile and his laugh, well, his attempts at laughing, they're so cute. I look at my friend's baby and just this cute little hair and these little dimples, and I look at another friend's baby and just how much he looks like them, and that you can see these little quirks already that he unconsciously mimics from his parents, and then some that are totally uniquely him. But it's this unique combination, and we are born with beauty. We are born with purpose. We are born perfect, perfectly created. But the moment we enter into this world, we enter into a world that is imperfect. And so we are created beautifully, designed perfectly. And then we encounter imperfection that damages us automatically when we're born, sometimes before we're born. There are more and more studies, and I know people personally who, children who in the womb, before they're born, are affected by traumatic experiences, whether that's physical trauma, or they're showing more and more studies about the capabilities of fetuses, babies, to be able to hear, and the brain activity that's showing that when, for example, it's not a good situation. So for example, if there's an abusive situation or drugs and alcohol, that's why we have alcohol or fetal alcohol syndrome and things like that. The impact. So, and I'm not trying to harp on the negative, but it's just the reality is that we are created, designed perfectly. But from the moment of conception, we face trauma. We face imperfection that affects us. And it if you think of us as a bowl or whatever you want to think of, an artwork, if you think of yourself as a beautiful piece of art, perfectly created, and then the moment you step out into the environment and you start to get scratches and you start to get damage and you start to show the signs, and the more, unfortunately, we go through life, the more pieces that get broken and the more emotional and mental and physical trauma, the more spiritual trauma we have, and we start to break. And that wasn't meant to be. That wasn't the original purpose. But we live in an imperfect world. But I believe that as we heal and as we're put back together, the Creator takes the broken pieces, the parts of us that now have sharp edges, the pieces that look scratched and look a little dusty or have become discolored, or the broken pieces of our life, our hearts. And I believe over time, and a lot of this we have to be willing to do. Healing just doesn't always come like that. Yes, I believe there are miraculous times and places where healing happens, but usually there's still a journey, because even when you're healed, you still have to process everything that came before. And so I don't believe there's ever really a fast snap healing, in the sense that we are always dealing with the scars left behind and the open wounds and things that, but what I love is this picture of the world beats us. The world beats us down. And it could be people we trust. It could be strangers. It could be choices we make ourselves. But usually everyone has a story behind the choices. I'm not saying all choices are right, because I know there's choices I've made that were not right. But there is a story behind them. I can tell you exactly what led up to some of my choices. I'm sure other people can too. Or maybe it's a process of figuring out there's been times I didn't know what led to certain choices. And I had to really process through and take the time to say, wow, what led to this? Like, how did I get here? And so I think it's this beautiful picture of all these broken pieces, all these damaged pieces being put back together, but into something even better. Because I think sometimes, and I know people don't like this, but personally, and I do not wish suffering on anyone. Don't get me wrong. There are times where I look back and I'm like, man, if I could have gone through that without it hurting, if I could have gone through it without the hurt, I probably would have preferred not to hurt. Yeah, I would rather not have the trauma. But at the same time, if I didn't have the experiences I did, I wouldn't understand love the way I do. I wouldn't understand the depth of what it means for someone to unconditionally love you. I wouldn't understand what hope truly means if I wasn't hopeless at one point. If I hadn't hit rock bottom at one point, I wouldn't understand how gracious God has been to me. I wouldn't understand grace. I wouldn't understand if I did not have a story that had some of these broken pieces. I sometimes really feel like I wouldn't truly be able, and I'm not saying go out there and, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying go out there and try to experience trauma and brokenness and don't feel like, well, and I can tell you this, if you think that your life has been perfect and you're like, well, now I kind of feel like this sucks because you're telling me I need to go out and like have a traumatic experience to enjoy life. No, because I truly believe that somewhere in your life you have faced some sort of scar in your life, some sort of wound. So don't think that just because you don't have, like, you know, sometimes we read, okay, and I love I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here, but I know sometimes we read these autobiographies and things, and I think they're fantastic. It's beautiful. I love to hear people's stories. People's stories are beautiful. They're hard. They're full of sorrow and misery and anger and frustration, but joy and redemption and hope and beauty and being put back together and healing. So I love that. But I think sometimes we look at these bestseller autobiographies and we think, oh man, like, yeah, but see, I shouldn't complain because see, they went through this, this, and this, and this, and look at all the things they're doing. And then maybe it's well, like my friends went through these things and well, I haven't gone through anything like that. So maybe I'm not, like, do I really understand love? Do I really understand these things? No, that's not true. Everyone has gone through some kind of trauma, some kind of hurt and wound. And we all are different. So never, ever, ever compare yourself to someone else. Comparison steals our joy and our hope. And so never compare yourself. But I would say that it's time to maybe look at your story. And are you in the middle of healing? Are you healed and dealing with the scars? Or are these open wounds that are just getting dug deeper and a scab keeps getting picked off and they're getting infected? Like, and I know I'm being very bluntly metaphorical right now, and I'm a very visual person. But I just, ultimately, I guess what I am saying is that I love the image though of we all have trauma, we all have brokenness, but we can be put back together even better than we were before, because I believe the creator looks at his creation. So if you think about, so again, if you look up the art of kintsugi, Kintsugi, the concept is that a piece is broken. So a piece is created. It's created beautifully. There may be nothing wrong with it. And then it gets broken. And you collect the broken pieces, and then they're put lovingly back together in an artistic way with gold or some kind of metal, some kind of metallic, pure metal thing that puts those pieces back together and pieces them into a new, beautiful, and stronger, because they're stronger now that those metal parts hold it together even more. So if you think about how, like, you have a porcelain or ceramic bowl, and you break that, and you have these itty bitty tiny like pieces that don't go back together anymore, and then you fill that with gold. Well, the gold that's holding those pieces together not only brings beauty, but it holds them together stronger. But you know something about gold? What do you have to do to make it liquid? You have to melt it. You have to put it in fire. You have to refine it by fire. And so I feel like when we're broken, there's going to be some burning, a little bit of pain when we get put back together, because there's going to be some trial, and those edges no longer fit together. There's brokenness. There's sharp edges. That's why sometimes people hurt other people, because when you're broken, you have sharp edges now that people run into. And especially when they're trying to help pick those pieces back up. And when you're trying to help someone else heal, you may get cut sometimes, because you may encounter their sharp edges, And you have to realize, though, I'm not saying put yourself in a situation of abuse or anything, or where you are hurting your own health. But I will say there's going to be a bit of some scratches on your own hands when you help someone else heal. And then other people, when you have to realize too, when you're healing and someone's helping you, sometimes be a little gracious, because your sharp edges may be hurting them too. And especially if they love you and are picking you up anyways, just something to consider. But I love the idea that the Creator takes these pieces, by the way that he's heartbroken are broken. Think about if you've made something in your life, something special that you absolutely loved, and it got broken. And there's some tears when you look at those pieces and you pick them up off the floor and you say, well, maybe I can get some hot glue, or maybe I can get some glue, or maybe I can sew this back together, or maybe, but there's some heartbreak there too. And maybe you have this moment of like, I know what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to make it look better than ever. But there's still some tears and some sorrow, because you created this to be a certain way and you never wanted to see it damaged. And so I believe that's the beauty and love of the Creator, because he designed us to be like this beautiful, unharmed image. And I think he weeps when we are broken and damaged. But I think no matter what, he sees the potential and he says, this is not hopeless. I'm not giving up on this piece, because I already knew that this world was going to beat this piece down. But I knew that I was going to come in and I was going to make that piece even stronger, and I was going to fulfill even more beauty and blessing into it than they could even imagine. And so I just would encourage you, and that's all to say, that as I've been contemplating my health journey and the easiness that I feel sometimes to be frustrated that I'm not quite to my 50-day goal yet, and I'm 5 days away, and I'm not giving up yet, but there's this part of me that's like, oh my gosh, I'm 5 days away and I'm still not at my goal. But then I look at it, I'm like, well, but that was never my full goal. Yes, it is. It's a representation. It's one of my goals. But my ultimate goal is to just be living a healthy, thriving life to 100 and beyond, with those years filled with 100% vitality and living with purpose and meaning, and fulfilling my calling and helping others and living in the will of God. And so I would say that my most important thing that I would say right now, that maybe we should all be rethinking, is what is health? What is health? And do I truly believe that no matter what, it's not hopeless, and that I can continue no matter how long it takes, no matter what my personal story looks like, that there is hope, and that yes, it's going to take some time, but that ultimately my goal is not all these small things. These small changes are helpful. They're small incremental changes that move us towards this. But ultimately the shift that we're making is we are trying to be as closely to the image of the created way we were meant to be. I think that made sense. But basically we are trying to live 100% full out lives, as close to this homeostasis of health in all areas as we were created to be. And yeah, we are broken in parts, but also realizing that those pieces are going to be, as we're healing, those scars won't go away, but there can be beauty to them because we made it through. We made it through, and those scars show that we're still here. We're still standing. We've been picked back up, put back together, stronger than ever, and our Creator didn't give up on us. And He never stopped loving us, no matter what, whether it was our choice or not. And He's always been there, picking up those pieces, picking up the sharp edges, crying, weeping over us, but putting us back together with love and tenderness and saying, child, you are still here and you still have beauty and purpose. And so I guess that's just where I'd leave you today. Know that you are beautiful. You have purpose. And even if you're broken, those sharp edges are going to be put to get back together more beautifully than ever. And you are going to understand love and hope and joy and all of these things more in depth than you ever did before. And it does not mean you forget those scars. Those scars are going to be there, but that does not. But you are here. You still are here. You still have purpose. You still have breath. Live in health. So, all right, you guys are awesome. I think I've given you a lot to think about. I've given myself a lot to think about. And I hope you have a blessed evening. You guys are awesome. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.